On today's episode of Let's REI, I sit down with Nathanael Opoulos, a podcaster, real estate investor, and storyteller who proves that courage isn't about waiting for fear to disappear, it's about doing it scared. We talk about breaking limits, building legacy, and why the question we should all ask is, why not me? Hey, Nathaniel, thank you for joining me today on my podcast, Let's REI. I'm glad you took some time to join me this morning. And tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll talk more about your podcast journey in a second here.
Well, sure thing, Jamie. Thanks for having me on here today. You just want an idea of what my background is like, or what exactly are you curious about?
Yeah, I would like to know, I guess first we'll get into what led you towards real estate. And I know that kind of parlayed into your podcast as well, because it's real estate focused. First of all, I'll like to dig into a little bit to just what got you the real estate bug.
Well, I think, like a lot of people, I started listening to podcasts and people that were doing stuff with bigger pockets. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I actually wrestled with that book for a good year and a half because he introduced it the idea of good debt. And good debt was a very foreign concept to me. I really had to think about that for a long time before I came to terms with it. I guess it was more of a mindset thing than anything. And once I started to understand it, I was like, okay, well, it sounds like what we should be doing is investing in real estate. We're starting a business. So that was kind of percolating in the back of my head as I was worried about other things. Like my wife and I, we struggled with infertility for a very long time before we had my son. So that was a big specter in the background of my experience. And then I was just going to school, trying to make ends meet for my newlywed wife, and I ended up in a customer service job, right?
Okay.
I was doing like customer service calls for CenturyLink and cable television.
How did you like that?
I did not.
Yeah, I did that before too. I didn't enjoy it.
And the funny thing about it is, I told myself that I was never going to go back to doing that because I hated it so much. And I didn't feel like I had any option. It was the only thing I knew how to do. And so I went back and I found myself in this situation where I hated going to work every day. I hated getting out of my bed in the morning. And it was actually enough pain to cause me to take a step back and realize, hey, what's going on? There's got to be a change here because this can't be life. And I looked around the office that day and I saw people in their 70s and their 80s that were stuck in those cubicles because
Hmm.
they didn't have a good retirement. And they didn't have any way to provide for themselves other than to come in and make customer service calls every day. I was like, dang, if I don't make a change, that's going to be me in 50 years. And so it scared me enough that I quit my job that day. And I didn't have a plan. I just knew I needed to make a change and I needed to figure something else out, because one of the things that came with this realization was I don't have any marketable skills. All the things that I know how to do, everyone else can do too. So that was kind of a wake up call. And what it prompted me to do is I went back to school to learn a trade and I became a CNC machinist. And the cool thing about that is that because I kind of burned the bridge behind me, didn't have a plan, it was all effort in. I got to figure this out because there's no other choice. And since then, I've tripled my hourly income.
Nice.
So it was a very good decision. And the lesson I learned from that was that when your skills don't measure up to what you want, you have to go and develop your skills.
So you leveled up your skills. It sounds like that job though was a catalyst for you. That bad job that
Oh,
you didn't like. If you hadn't been in that job, maybe you were making not quite what you're making now, but somewhere in between your previous job and your current job. Maybe you wouldn't have had that catalyst.
yeah, maybe I would have been comfortable enough where I was.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
I think a lot of people
Interesting how that
are
works out.
there. Cool. So got into got the bug for real estate and yeah. What kind of education have you done for real estate or mentorships or things like that?
Yeah. So what happened with that is that after I've been working in my W-2 job for a while, the CNC machining job that I have, I realized that I wanted more too because my son had finally been born. All of a sudden, I was aware that there's this glass ceiling on how much I can earn there.
Mm.
Yeah, sure, I'm making 3 times what I was making at the customer service job, but is that going to get me to the things that I want to do in my life, the impact I want to have? Is it going to teach me the skills that I can pass on to him? So if he ever comes into a situation where he needs to figure it out on his own, he has those under his belt to do it. And I realized, well, I don't think this career can actually provide that, which is kind of an interesting thing to realize because I enjoy that work. And so it was like, okay, what's next then? I like to think of it as this same phenomena as what happens to lobsters.
Okay.
When they grow, they get too big for their shell and they start to get uncomfortable. And the first thing that they have to do is go find some place to take that old shell off so that they can form a new one. And I kind of felt like I just hit this point in my growth. Like, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable with where I'm at. I need to kind of cast off I am now and become a new version of myself. And so that led me to say, what's something I could do to become the person that I want to be that my son can look up to and want to emulate? I'm going to learn how to make $1 million. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, but let's go figure it out. And what's funny about that is the very same day I made that decision was the very first time I saw stuff by Pace Morby on YouTube. I'd never seen it before in my life.
Funny how that works.
And I was like, okay, this seems pretty interesting. I wanted to get in real estate anyway. And he's talking about what he calls the Gator method, which is funding transactions for other real estate investors. Like, I think I can do this. I've never invested in a mentorship before, but let's see what this is like. $3,000 doesn't seem like it's too hefty a price. If I make a mistake, at least I'll learn along the way. And so I did.
I don't promote things that I don't use myself. If you're in the private money lending space and you want to level up your game, check out PML Resources, your private lending toolbox. Whether you need a full due diligence and underwriting tool, a comping and underwriting calculator, or essential checklists and lending law guides, they've got you covered. Grab yours over at pmlresources.com or click my affiliate link in the description. Nice, nice. Yeah, we're both in Gator, and we actually met in another community, Growth Co. And I liked your story about the lobster because I've known you for all your great stories and analogies. It kind of puts things into perspective. So I guess my question is: so real estate focused, looking to do transactional loans, that kind of became talking about it on a podcast. So how did you make that connection? Because a lot of people invest in real estate, they don't do anything with social media or podcasting. And why did you decide that that was an important thing to do?
Well, like I said, part of the goal with this isn't just to make $1 million, it's to become the kind of person that my son can look up to and emulate. I also want to be able to pass skills down to him. And I think that soft skills are one of those things that's really important that maybe people don't emphasize enough. And so, in order to earn those skills, you have to practice them. And throughout the course of Gator, Pace Morby, he does a lot of different bonus kind of challenges and things that he likes to do to kind of teach people what he's doing and how to run their businesses better. And he showed us how his YouTube channel works and how he brings in people by cloning himself and all of this work that he gets accomplished because all of these YouTube clones that he has going out and spreading this message. And I was like, wow, that just makes sense. I just have to figure out how to get comfortable in front of a camera.
Mm, that's
And
the
I'll be honest, the very first time I recorded something, I like had the shakes. I was trembling in my boots because I was so nervous. But then the camera started rolling and I got talking to Michael, who was my battle buddy at the time. And I just realized, oh, this is just talking to someone. I can
right.
do this.
Yeah. Cool.
And it was just like, okay, this is it. I can do this.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you're basically saying that by having these videos out there, it's like a clone of yourself that's out there on the web. So you don't always have to be doing a live or anything. Someone could stumble upon your content and it's working for you even when you're not working.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly that. And one of the other things that I realized is that we're one of the first generations on the planet to have the opportunity to leave permanent video behind for our descendants. Like other people have left behind personal journals or biographies, but I can actually leave a video record of my entrepreneurial journey, my own development. So people, maybe even not just my descendants, other people can look at that inspiration from it and say, hey, he was kind of an average Joe when he first got started, but look how he built it over time. Why not me?
So you're leaving a record for your son as well to go
Yeah.
back, 30 years from now and watch old videos of dad.
If he's ever inclined to. I mean,
Yeah.
I think some of the stories from my ancestry are really cool, the ones that I know.
Right.
My son's namesake, Archibald, actually comes from one of our ancestors who came over to America through Ellis Island. And he's got
Oh,
some really
nice.
interesting stories, and he's a really impressive individual.
Oh, that's a good story. So with your podcast, I know I mentioned it. I put a reel out yesterday, just kind of to promote that I was talking to you today, and I was looking on your YouTube channel, and I did an interview with you. You interviewed me actually. I think you were at 30 back then. That wasn't too long ago. So you've been pretty prolific in your in your podcasting. I think you're up to 61 now. How do you find the time to do this, and what's some of your workflows that allows you to be efficient because you're working I would
Yeah.
assume it's 5 days a
I'm
week,
working
right?
full time still, and I'm running the podcast and building the real estate investing business on the side. I've had some success with that. I've had some private money lending that I've done, transactional loans. But for the podcast, I created a system for it. I decided that I would always do my recordings on Fridays. So
Okay.
all of my scheduling software, which I use Calendly, is dedicated to a 4 hour block on Fridays where I have people available to schedule. Then I kind of allocate anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes for interviews because sometimes I get in there with the person that I'm interviewing and we just go over some stuff in the technical, the background stuff, kind of give them expectations of what to expect for the interviews. But part of it was just dedicating a planned section or time block of time dedicated to doing the interview and deciding that other days are not podcast days. So I,
Mm.
I kind of put some constraints on it, right?
Okay, so you've got your set time each week where people could actually, I want to get on a podcast. Oh, there's one. I know Nathaniel has a podcast. Those they can just book themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I send a link to people that I talk to. Typically, I like to interview other business owners,
yeah.
and it doesn't have to be real estate related specifically. I'm interested in the process of what takes a person from being in a W 2 environment to
Right.
wanting to become an entrepreneur, to becoming a successful entrepreneur, to becoming a millionaire or a billionaire. What does that process look like and who can follow it?
Okay, so it's broad than not just real estate. Do you ever get a request that you had to turn down because it's not really fitting your
I haven't
I
had that
guess
issue yet. Usually,
genre?
if I talk to people, I'm doing the invitation myself. I
Yeah,
have had a couple people reach out, but they've been a fit. So I guess we'll
yeah.
take that and cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, cool, cool. That's great. So what is your goal for your podcast? Where are you trying to get with that? Do you have like a certain number of episodes that's your milestone, or are you
Yeah.
just gonna
So
keep
for right
going?
now, my goal is to get to 82 episodes by the end of 2025.
Okay.
And that's going to be one a week for the rest of the year. But
And
a big reason behind doing this was because I went to an event where Mel Robbins spoke, and I was struggling with a lot with my mindset because I know I've told this story on my podcast, but I don't know if I've mentioned it to you before. When I was 18, I actually suffered from an assault. My roommate had schizophrenia, and he came home drunk one night, and it ended up with me being left with half of my skull shattered. And so for a very long time, it was hard for me to take action on things because I was so scared of what the result might be because I'd gone through trauma that almost ended me. And I realized part of the podcast was to help me get around my fear through exposure therapy. And second, I listened to a lady named Mel Robbins give a speech, and she said, "It's okay to do it messy. It's okay to do it scared. It's okay to do imperfect as long as you just do it anyway." And for some reason, that was the permission I needed to be like, okay, let's do it scared and let's go out and do the things that are kind of intimidating and get around this so that we can be successful. And I
great.
realized
And
that that's the impact I want to have. Maybe it's just one person out there in the world that something I say allows them to get over a hurdle that they have, and that'll be enough.
that's amazing. It's a great story. That was that at Squad Up Summit that you
I think it
suffered?
was the Limitless Arena.
Limitless Arena. Okay.
Yeah, they held
Yeah.
that in Salt Lake. Something like 13 hours worth of speakers.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't in Limitless Arena. I'm thinking about it. Maybe it was the Own Your Future event with Tony Robbins, which would make sense.
Yeah. So it sounds like you go to a lot of different conferences as well to kind of build out your
Yeah, definitely. I think that if you don't know the path, other people do, and you can figure it out from them.
yeah.
I think it's Napoleon Hill who wrote Think and Grow Rich that says success leaves clues. And so I guess I'm trying to become a detective.
Okay. Yeah,
Follow
that's
the
a good way.
clues.
Yeah, good way to look at it. And I know you're looking to give back. You are actually putting together some training for other people starting to want to podcast.
Yeah. In fact, if people are interested in that, they're welcome to reach out to me on Instagram at Nathanael_Opoulos, or you can search for the Pot of Gold podcast and send me a message. But what I'm offering is I've documented all of the workflows that I follow for my podcast, from scheduling to the editing that I do, the work that I work with, technical uploads to YouTube, how I do my thumbnails. All of this is kind of a bundle package that I've been offering to people because I want other people to use a podcast as a growth vehicle. It's going to help you develop those soft skills I mentioned.
Yeah, that's some really good offering because there's so many little things, especially when you're doing it all yourself in the beginning, that I think would trip people up. Like, how do you even create a thumbnail? How do you,
Yeah.
where do you, what do you do with the link that you generate afterwards? Do you just upload to YouTube? Do you put it on Spotify as well? Do you, all these things that there's so many of those little questions I think prevents a lot of people from even starting.
Well, and I think that you're absolutely right about that. I was paralyzed by perfectionism for a very long time.
Hmm.
And I think that's just a story we tell ourselves because we're scared of making something that doesn't look good. But the thing is you can't improve something that doesn't exist. And so you just make it exist first, and then you can
Right.
improve it over time.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So, with these 61 podcasts that are out there, these clones that are out there, has there been any kind of opportunity that has come your way that would not have come your way otherwise?
I've discovered that a lot of these big names in YouTube and stuff that you see are a lot closer at hand than you thought they were, because I've been able to talk directly to people like Dan Martell and Alex Hormozy
Hmm.
and a few of these other big names, right? And before I started this journey of entrepreneurship, I thought they were like as far away as the moon, but it turns out that they're a lot more accessible than I thought they were. And I think that that was a lesson I learned along the way. I also started to understand that these people that make a whole ton of money in these coaching programs that I've joined,
Yeah.
they're a lot like I am, and some of them struggle with the exact same things. Like, there's somebody that was telling us that in the coaching call that they make $43 million a year, and they still struggle getting in front of a camera to tell people about what they do. And it's just like, wow, why not you? Why
Yeah.
not you? There's all these people are human, and so if they can figure it out, you can too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great advice. Is there any defining moment from all your podcasts that sticks out in your mind or any particular guest where you're like, oh, I learned so much from this one podcast?
There's actually been quite a few of them. One of the ones that I really enjoyed doing was because it was a friend of mine from high school
Okay.
that I'd lost contact with for a good 12 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And when I reconnected with him, I found out that he's actually a multimillionaire who does rehabs for apartment complexes that are in like D or C class neighborhoods.
Okay.
He goes in, he flips them, refinances the flip, and was able to recover his recap costs using the refinance. And then he has a stable asset that he uses to generate cash flow every month. And I was like, this is somebody that I knew from high school. I'm like,
Yeah,
just to really put it in perspective.
that's great. And he's not in any of the communities that we're in or
No,
just doing
no,
it.
he's just going
Yeah.
out and doing it on his own.
And that also goes to show that, if you have the motivation, the inspiration, that there's other ways to get to the same goal. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of people that will help you. So it's not just one path, right?
Definitely. And I think that that's a good lesson that entrepreneurship teaches that's way outside of what the public school system teaches. Because in the public school system, you're taught that there's one right answer to a test, that you have to turn in your homework on time. This is a one solution fits all kind of a situation. But in entrepreneurship, as long as you're ethical and moral and you're within the law, there's not really a limit to what you can do to be creative on solutions.
Yeah, one thing I like with the school system, you're really taught as an individual and you can't, if you share with others, you're cheating, right? If they share
Yeah,
with you.
you can
Whereas
collaborate a lot more.
in the business world, unless you're in a group working on a project together, but in the entrepreneurial world, your collaboration is what helps you move so much faster.
And you imitate as much as you can. If people are being successful, copy what they're doing. Yeah,
Right.
sure, make it yours by putting it behind your brand, your own words, but there's being successful for a reason.
Do you have any plans to, or is this even a goal of yours to monetize your podcast in any way or seek like affiliate
I would
income or
like
anything?
to, if it allows me to improve the quality of the content that I'm giving to the audience. The goal itself wasn't to make money off the podcast. The goal is to develop my skills and to give value where I can.
Mhm.
Because this is something I've told you guys in Growth Co. I don't view success as something that I want by myself. I don't want to be a lone man in paradise. I don't think that that is success. I want people there along the way that I can share
Awesome.
it with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great community. I mean, I've said this before, part of my inspiration sometimes when I'm not feeling like, it was part of what we do is it's not just business in these mentorships. It's like, take care of yourself, take care of your body, exercise, and that sort of thing. There's days when I don't feel like doing anything and I see your reel and you're like, day 365 and you're out there. And
Yeah, it was back to systems again. I found all the points of friction that I had, and I said, okay, what's the least amount of friction I could follow for this particular thing? So I ended up with running and walking. That's something I can do wherever I'm at. I don't need to have exercise equipment. I can do it right as soon as I get off of work. As soon as I get home from wherever I'm at, I can do it outside. I can do it inside. Just the whole idea behind this was prioritize my health and myself because I suffered from a lot of self-loathing for a long time. And so changing my mindset about that and realizing that I'm a person that's worthy of love and affection, especially from myself, because no one else is actually going to be with me my entire life except for me,
It's true.
was a big change. And I learned that exercise is an excellent antidepressant, and almost everything else in your life gets better when you learn how to make that a priority in your life.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I was reading a book recently, Outlive, Peter Attia wrote it. It's a lot of technical biochemistry stuff in there as well, but there's an entire chapter like on exercise and the effects and how, in his opinion, well, not opinions, research backs it up. The one thing that you can do is almost better than any pill you're going to take later on. Like if you can prevent something now with exercise, you're going to have a better effect than taking Crestor later on in your life for your high cholesterol, right? It's just going to be, you're going to be set up better. And what really stuck in my mind, you know, we're all trying to leave legacies and, grandchildren and all that kind of stuff. He says, like, if you can't get up from the ground or pick up something like 40 pounds now, then you're not going to be able to lift your grandchild
Uh,
when you're 80. You know what I mean? So keep working out, keep your muscles going, keep your cardiovascular in good shape because you want to keep up with your kids. Because as you get older, you lose it so fast. But if you stay with the exercising, you can prevent a lot of that atrophy, I guess, or that
It's a
backward
really good
slide.
point. It's a lot easier to keep yourself in momentum than to try to start from a stopping place.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
One of the things that I learned from this that was it's one of those lessons that I felt you have to learn firsthand, even if you hear it from people, was the more I repeated doing something, the more I began to see myself as that thing. And
Mm,
so when I first started, I kind of looked down on people who exercise because I was a intellectual, right?
right.
But then I got to this point where I was like, why was I so egotistical about this? Because this is a good thing for me and I feel better. And there's strength in doing repetitions because it changes who you are.
Yeah. And now you're a person that exercises. Yes,
Yeah.
you identify with that, but you're also a person that, is consistent.
And
You can
shows
do
up when things are hard
consistency. Yeah, it's great. I mean, sometimes just the basic things like that in life sometimes is what you need for your foundation, right? Yeah,
for sure. I think there's a lot of little things that if you get right, other things fall into place. And I think exercising every day is actually as essential as eating meals or drinking water,
or
getting
sleep.
good sleep.
Yeah. So you're pouring a lot out into helping other people. I've seen that. What do you need in your business? Like, is there things that you're looking for help
Well,
wise?
I am looking for opportunities to invest in buildings that would be used for the co-living model. And the
Yep.
reason we decided to go with co-living as the exit strategy is because there are a lot of people that are less fortunate that I would like to help, be that veterans or service members who are injured in the line of duty, like firefighters or police
Yeah.
officers. I would also like at some point to help people who have been victims of human trafficking, provide them with homes and safe spaces to be in so that they can recuperate from the trauma of that experience. But we're slowly building things all together. We've got a good system in place. And so if you have an opportunity that you think could fit that kind of a model, send it over to our website or send me a message via Instagram and I will be happy to look at it.
Great. For people that aren't familiar, how would the affordability of how does that work compared to a long term rental? That
Yeah,
would be like
so
at a lower rate.
definitely. What we do with the co-living is we'll typically take a single family home that's larger in size and we'll put extra rooms in it so that people can rent by the room. And then we offer them this ability to pay less rent because they only have to rent a single room instead of an entire house or apartment complex. And it gives a lot of benefit for people like that. And there's also a lot of government programs that you can get funding through to help people who are less fortunate. And so it opens it up to the options of getting funding through these special programs as well.
Great. And they get the use of the rest of the house and all
Yeah.
that. And okay. Yep. That's good. Yeah. So you're looking for so when you say larger houses, you're like what size?
I'd say like 1,700 square feet is probably the minimum that we're looking for.
Yep.
A lot of times it'll be better if it's closest to places where there's good centers of employment, bus stations, extra parking. Those things are all pluses. We want to avoid HOAs. Swimming
Mm.
pools are not really a necessity, things like that.
And if someone, you mentioned if someone has a deal, they can send it to, what's the best? Is it your email? Is it your Instagram?
Yeah, I'd probably be through the email. I'd send it to support@instantemd.com. And that's where my operations manager is overlooking the different deals and doing the underwriting on things for us.
Nice. Nice. You have an ops manager. That's good. I was going to ask you, are you still looking for EMD opportunities, or is that kind of
Yes, that is something
back
we also
burner?
do because I partnered with a man named Ryan Schroep. And so what we do is we kind of have some capital partners and we split the profits on anything. But if you have an opportunity that you want to send our way, we also pay referral fees for that.
Okay.
Usually what'll happen is you'll get about 25% of the total profit on the deal if you send us something that we close on.
Okay. And that would
And
be
we'll
for
do
EMD
earnest money deposits and double close transactions.
double close as well. Okay. Cool. Cool. Have you guys looked into any credit sponsorship or anything like that yet, or no?
I haven't, but
Yeah.
it's always a possibility.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're doing Gator and you're doing stuff too. You're doing it all and
Yeah, you have to
podcasting.
focus on on one thing until you're successful with it, right? And then you can move on to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what advice, I mean, would you have to someone starting out? I mean, they don't know if they should get into lending, if they should try and buy properties. Do they need to start a podcast right away? Do they need to beef up their social media? Like, there's so many places to just
Yeah, I
like
think
get paralysis of analysis, analysis of paralysis.
definitely. I think you should choose one thing and experiment with it. And then if you don't see a lot of progress, you can choose a different thing and experiment with that. But at some point, you're going to have to choose one thing to go all in on. I do think that there's utility in finding out what you have an affinity for, but don't wait too long because none of us are promised tomorrow. And that was really emphasized with a lot of things that I've experienced with my assault that I almost didn't make it through family members that we've lost and through friends that have passed away recently. So it's a good reminder to always remember that if you procrastinate your dream, you might never get it.
Good. That's a good way to end this podcast, I think, with that sound advice. Yeah, so I want to thank you, Nathaniel, for your time this morning and sharing your journey with me. And I know we'll continue to see lots of each other. We're also keeping each other accountable each week as well
For
with our
sure.
accountability groups and everything. So it's going to be great to see each other's journey.
Definitely. I'm really glad you called me on here today. So appreciate you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Let's REI podcast. If you got value from today's episode, hit subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify. For more stories, tools, and insights, head over to letsrei.com. And I'll catch you on the next one.